Fantastic.
The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, everybody. This is Brian Ankney with Auto Success Magazine. I really appreciate you all taking the time to join us today. Today, my guest is Aaron Horwitz. He's the CEO of Auto Leadstar. We've got a heck of an exciting presentation to share with you. You all know what it's titled, Would You Hire Your Website as a Salesperson, which really kind of, it really gives you a lot of questions, like what are we going to talk about? And actually, I'm really excited to share all this with you guys. It's about being more than just, a dark room. When people come into your showroom, you wouldn't have the lights off, and it wouldn't do any good if you didn't have salespeople. And so today we're going to learn about how a website can interact with your customers and make it more of a personal experience. Now, a couple things I'd like to mention to you before we get started is if you have questions, and please ask them. During the presentation, if you're on a computer, on the right side of your screen, you have a pane that goes down the side. There's a question that says questions near the bottom. Hit the plus sign, type in a question. We're going to hold the questions till the end, but I will ask all the questions at the end. And if you're on a smartphone, depending on whether you have an Apple or an Android, it's either at the top or the bottom of the screen, and you'll see a question mark. You hit that question mark, and it allows you to ask questions. Also, one more thing. If you haven't already, please join Auto Success Webinars. It's a group. You just go to the search on Facebook and type in Auto Success Webinars. It'll come up, a request to join the group. And in that group, you're able to interact with myself, with other Auto Success people, as well as all of our presenters, and more importantly, all of you that are on the call, because you're going to learn new stuff today. And when you try to implement these new processes, you're going to have successes and failures. Please feel free to share that and ask questions of other people that are going through the same process. Aaron, if you would, please take it away, my friend.
Thank you very much, Brian. It's a pleasure to be here with you all. Pleasure to do this with Auto Success. I realize where we are, middle of your day, so I'm going to do this tight, quick, and try to get you guys relevant information on how we can be better at converting our website traffic, learn a little bit about what's going on the cutting edge of the industry, and I promise to really talk about some cutting edge stuff. And at the end, really walk out of here with some practical, pragmatic tips that you can use to just be more effective at treating your digital showroom the way it deserves to be treated. And with that, I'm going to jump in. And I kind of want to put up here a picture of someone. This might remind you of yourself. It might remind you of a person who you would consider hiring. And I think most of us would look at this person and say, hey, you know what? If he smiled, he might be a good salesperson on the sales floor. However, if he walked in like this, blindfolded, a little tipsy, most of us would say, no, sorry, we don't really want you here because you're not going to be able to effectively relate to the people walking through the door of my dealership. Well, the unfortunate challenge that we're here to talk about today, and the problem that I want to set out for you all, is that many of us have already hired that person. When you think about your website, okay, and the intelligence that it can bring to bear in most engagements with most of your visitors, it's not even 10% of the effectiveness of the worst salesperson you've ever hired, right? Why? Because it's a computer. It's not a human, and it unfortunately has to do quite a lot for a lot of different people in a very general way. This is not to knock automotive websites. They're actually fantastic, meaning most of the mainstream providers in the industry are very strong. The websites are great, but they have to deliver a lot of information to a lot of people, and therefore it's very difficult for them to focus in on what one specific person wants in that moment, like a human would. Most of you have worked retail. I don't know, in my past I sold sandwiches when I was at university. I worked in various different stores, and you could always tell when someone walks in, are they in a rush? Do they have time? Do they know the product and you don't need to hover? Do they not know the product and you need to be really guided in how you show them? That kind of intuition is gone in the digital age, and it's a challenge, and that, unfortunately, is what leads to this number. Most dealerships, and there are some, including some of our clients, some of whom are on the call, who are really effective. Most dealerships, though, are facing a 99% loss rate on their web traffic. It's not your bounce rate. I mean, your bounce rate may be fantastic. It may be a 20% bounce rate. But if you look at what happens to the traffic as it goes deeper into your website, unfortunately, it all leaves, and it doesn't leave you their phone number. It doesn't leave you the information you need to start marketing to them directly. And what I want to do here before we move on is just pause. I basically took some data. It is real data. I actually combined a couple of dealerships into each slide so that there would be anonymity, but it essentially represents real cases that we've looked at and clients that we've worked with. This is a small dealership, and here we have traffic at about 7,500 uniques a month. This may represent some of you. Some of you might actually be this slide. They're taking in web leads, not phone, CRM leads, 68 leads a month, and that's a conversion rate of 0.91%, just under 1%. A loss rate on the flip side of 99.1%. Now, extend this to your showroom. If you saw, as a sales manager, 99% of the people who walked in the door not even exchange information with your sales team, that would be a real challenge that you would immediately work to fix, right? And it continues even with the larger dealerships. This is based larger clients or mid-sized clients. They have 27,000 uniques a month. Leads can be 788. In this case, one of the dealers we looked at, I think, was 888. Those are very good conversion rates, 2.92% to web lead. That's phenomenal. They have a thriving conversion funnel. However, it's still a 97.1% loss rate. That's a staggering number, and that's really the challenge that we're facing because it's very, very expensive. And here I want to kind of just zoom out for a moment on how the funnel costs us, right? So if you think about the way you guys are working with your agencies, and if I could ask you to raise your hand and ask how many of you are paying for remarketing, retargeting, I'm sure most of you, if not all of you, would be raising your hand. You're paying for that initial hit to your website, X amount per click from Google, from Facebook, from Bing. You're then paying, because none of them are going to convert, you're then paying to remarket to those people, which will be another click that you will pay for. And then on and on until over the course of time, you're spending a lot of money on that traffic. If we can focus on optimizing to capture folks early on and to optimize to capture people with what they want, we can actually save a tremendous amount of money and have a real force multiplier on our marketing. Meaning, if we can capture those leads up top, we're going to get, we're not going to spend money to bring them back. We're going to have direct channels to market to them, to their email and to their phone number. And that's what we're talking about here today in the webinar. What we want to do is look at ways and methods, cutting-edge methods that are going to help transform our conversion optimization platform on our website. And it's not to replace your website provider. It's rather to support, augment, and strengthen it. So I want to look at some actual numbers from case studies before we dive into what the techniques are and what kind of the technology is. And I want to actually look at kind of what can happen. I deliberately chose modest examples. I didn't want to choose examples that were pie in the sky. These are modest examples. These are repeatable results that can work on your website just like they worked on these websites. These are not the cutting edge of dealerships that are just blowing away the market. These are really the types of dealerships you see everywhere. Fantastic businesses that were able to just get another edge by focusing on conversion optimization. So let's take a look. This is a Midwestern dealership, which is an interesting dealership. They, in the process of working, in particular here with us, they were able to raise their conversion rate by 32%. Okay? Now, again, a modest example. It's not a huge lift in the conversion rate, but in the end of the day, it resulted in them selling 13 more cars per month. They were attributing another $20,000 of incremental profit per month, and based on what they were matching back, meaning in terms of their spend on that, that was a 20% on their marketing investment. Another $250,000 a year in annual gross profit, and that is a not insignificant number when you add in all the other benefits that come from shipping more vehicles. Another example, a smaller dealership. Here they got a 52% conversion rate lift. Right, that was a 16x return on their marketing investment, which resulted in them selling another 6 cars, and so on and so forth. But the point is that wherever you are at right now, there is plenty of room for you to increase the number of leads that you're capturing from the traffic that you're buying simply by focusing on a couple key things that we're going to talk about, and then potentially doing some more advanced things that will really take you to the next level. Just to kind of focus on what this conversion optimization is for 1 second, right, where it fits in the funnel of your business, right? Most of us are buying traffic. It's referral. We're getting paid traffic. We're getting some organic traffic. We're getting referral. your leads are going to hit your website or they're going to hit landing pages. Right at that moment, instead of just saying, let's hope the website does its job, let's hope whatever minimal personalization there is on the website works, let's hope the landing page converts, we focus on tools and techniques that are going to happen within the website to get those folks to convert and fill out the forms, make the phone call, whatever it might be, and at the same time gather intelligence on them so we're able to pass that information to the sales team and help them close the sales more effectively. And all that information flows right into your CRM. So let me kind of move now into where things are going and where things are right now, and then we're going to, at the end, open up for a lot of times for questions and kind of deep dives on anything that interests you. So let's understand, in something that all of you who are internet marketers, GMs, whatever position you have, that there is now digital body language that can be gleaned from people's behavior on a website in real time that can lead to a reaction that will get you better results. And I'm actually going to live demo this in a second, okay? But let's look for a moment at what a smart technology today would see when someone is browsing a dealership vehicle description page. Okay, so here's a VDP. It's on a fake website you're about to see, and it's a typical car page. When we're looking at a snapshot of a person who's looking at this page, right? And what do we know about them with modern technologies? We can know all sorts of things. For example, we can know that they were previously on a page or on an article having to do with safety on your website or on an ad that came from safety. We can know what their mouse speed is, and we can compare that to other people's mouse speed. We can know where their focus is. What are they hovering on? People tend to have certain behaviors as they read. We can know to what extent the image interests them. We can know a lot more, and we can send all that data in real time, right from here, from this session of the person browsing, real time back to the Decision Hub, and then we can decide what do we actually do to engage that person. This is very challenging, but it's definitely possible, and our company in particular, we're doing it on millions and millions of visitors a day. We're able to say this is probably a person who is really interested in this car, most concerned about safety. We need to talk to them about the safety of this car before we capture the lead, or we need to talk to them about fuel economy, or we need to talk to them about financing and savings, or whatever it might be. Or we need to realize that they're probably looking at a different vehicle. They're comparing a Jaguar to a Porsche. They came in, they went to the Porsche page. Well, let's show them something that actually answers that information, and then show them a lead capture form to capture that lead. And that's the type of technology that we're talking about. And I want to actually live demo it right now. I'll pop open my browser here. And I want you to look for a moment. And if you're on a phone, feel free just to email me, and we'll get this over to you if it's a little too small to look at. What you're looking here is, again, that dealership that I was showing you in the slides. It's a demo dealership. On the left, we're showing you under the hood of what our technology can do a bit. All right, and up top you see information it knows about me. We actually gather about 50 to 60 data points on every person. Right here you can see real-time behavior. So watch, I move my mouse. We know I'm moving my mouse. I'm hovering on a link. We know what link I'm hovering on. I'm hovering on an image. We know I'm hovering on an image, and then I might be interested in that image. And then below that, we have an analysis and decision engine. The analysis and decision engine is saying at any given time, what type of person am I and what might I be interested in? So let's look, for example, I look at safety. I read an article about safety. A modern tool can say, hey, this is a safety person. They actually are interested in safety, and if I'm going to engage them with some sort of focused offer, right, something that's going to show up above the website, right, which is what, for example, our technology will power, I probably want it to be about safety because they cared about that. So this box here was basically popped out by our technology, which just is integrated simply into the website. And because we knew that this person cared about safety, and again, I'm using a simple example in order to make a point, we show them something about safety, which would probably lead to maybe an article and then a lead capture form that would show up. Okay, let's do another kind of comparison example. Let's say that someone is searching for Jaguar, and Boxster runs an ad against it, and we are able to say, okay, we know that this person is coming in interested in a Jaguar, and we got them. It was a conquest ad. It's got a potential opportunity to really drive someone into our brand. And here they come into the site, right? Our technology is tracking them, understanding what they're doing, understands what they might be interested, and then very quickly, out of the bottom right, bam, we serve that up, compare now, okay? This type of engagement that's targeted, that's focused, that can see when someone plays with the financing calculator and say, hey, they use the calculator. Maybe when they leave, we need to speak with them about finance, because financing is what clearly is exciting to them or important to them in the purchase of this car. Get your Porsche financing guide, right? That type of focused, targeted engagement is what's going to win the day when you're dealing with a very, very distracted and oversaturated environment. Okay, I was showing a bunch of content engagements. Those engagements can just be straight up lead capture, right? Here's an example: special savings authorized for the next 48 hours. We can focus on what's going to speak to that person, show that technology. Now, how does all this happen, and what are some actionable tips that you guys can take out of this? And that's what I want to kind of dive into here, and then we're going to open up a little bit for questions. So first of all, I want to kind of speak a little bit about some of the buzzwords out there right now. Some of you are encountering technologies that are saying they're doing machine learning, behavioral analytics, predictive analytics. If we were in a room, I'd ask you to raise your hand how many actually know what those things mean. It's really challenging to know what those things mean because they mean a lot in a lot of different things. But I do want to educate a bit about that because it's something that's going to become only more and more important, and it's important for us as internet managers and marketing team members to actually understand what's going on there. Okay, so in this context, when people talk about machine learning, it's relatively simple. It's basically saying we have tons and tons of data on behavior. We have a question that we want to ask. For example, is a person likely to need financing, right? And for a human being to sit down and try to tabulate all the different data and look for patterns is going to be very difficult. However, for a computer to do that, it's difficult, but it's not impossible. And we can write these programs, what they call algorithms, which will take enormous amounts of data, look for patterns, and almost create different types of models through which you could figure out an answer. It's sort of like a black box, and then output an answer on any given person. Once you've done that and you've what's called trained a model for machine learning, you can then ask it anything that relates to the question you ask. So what we do, for example, is when someone comes to one of our websites that we work with, we might send that information to one of those machines and ask them, hey, is this person likely to go to a financing page? And we will know with a pretty reasonable degree of accuracy, even if they have just arrived at the website and we have no other information about them, whether or not they are likely to want to go to a financing page. In that case, we know what offers work best for those types of people, and we're going to show those over other offers. That's the type of technology that we're talking about, which can be really powerful. And what's exciting about it, and in particular in the context, for example, of us, is that it integrates into websites really simply with just a line of code. There's no need to change providers, to do complicated tagging, to rip out the guts of your system, to hook into your DMS. It's a piece of code you put on the website, and then it can speak to the brain that's in the cloud and make these decisions and understand how to best engage your website visitors. So before I talk a little bit more about the advanced stuff, I actually want to just touch on, in a practical manner, a couple key things that you guys can do that will just help you be more effective in converting tomorrow, something you could do tomorrow. Okay, and I'm gonna start here with this little actionable tip, which is moment of focus. All of us know this. If you think about your life, right? You're constantly being distracted. You're constantly walking around. You're in environments where there's just so many messages that sometimes when there's just one clean message, could be a clean whiteboard with just one word on it, or a big billboard that's just focused in on one thing, and you're in an elevator and there's just a screen there with information, that moment of focus will almost always outperform the kind of messy messaging that we see day to day. So if you're thinking about your website and you're buying traffic, you're bringing people to your site has lots and lots of information. Find moments where you can kind of push all that away. You can push away the chat box that's floating on the screen. You can push away the trade-in box. You can push away the VDP. And you say to someone, here is what I want you to do, and this is the only thing I want you to do. People respond very well to that. If it's a good offer, if it's valuable, if you can take over for one moment and do it in a way that's beautiful, that's brand conscious, and that resonates with them, they will react to that far more than the embedded tools, at a far higher rate than the embedded tools that are kind of lost within all of your platform. That's kind of a technique that we like to use. Meaning, when we build creative for websites, we try to focus on creating a combination of kind of beautiful and branded moments of focus, but also not overwhelming the person. So sometimes we'll use subtle messaging that will show up in the bottom left, off the side, Other times we say, you know what, this person might leave any moment. Let's really show them something strong and engage them. And that's one tip that you can do. It's something you can do with your website designer. It's something you could do with someone like us and say, how do I get more moments of focus in front of folks, and then actually ask them for that lead. The other thing that's important, and I think here it's important to think about, the populations that you're dealing with. More and more people are coming to your website not to convert. The fact is, 90% of the people on your website do not want to convert. What they want to do is shop. They want to learn. They want to research. It sometimes pays to not go for the conversion and instead go for the engagement and the resource building, because that will mean that when someone is considering what dealership to walk into after they've done all their online research, they're going to consider yours over the neighbors, because on your dealership they learned information. And so one of the things that we've rolled out with clients that are kind of willing to step away a bit from some of the lead engagement, which I'm going to kind of point to here in a moment, is content, is interesting information, is tips on how to be a better buyer, tips on how to engage with a vehicle, how to take care of a vehicle. That information helps them feel connected to you emotionally and see you as their shopping resource, and many of them are just going to make a decision to walk in a door. They're not going to convert. They're not going to make that phone call, and we want them to go into your dealership. So that's another actionable tip. You can focus on resources on your website that will give people what they want, and then you'll get those folks to walk in your door. And here I kind of want to zoom out for one moment and just help you guys think about how you, when you are doing these things, when you're working with vendors to optimize and improve the conversion rate on your website, you really need to be thinking about what we call 3 pulses. This is what we measure within Auto Lead Star when we work with clients. We measure through our analytics lead engagement, to what extent are we converting on the website, consideration, which is measured by an algorithm that we have, but it involves things like how much time people spend on vehicle description pages, how often someone comes back, and then brand equity. How much do people, how warm do people feel towards the brand of your dealership? Now here, it's deliberately, if you look, one is way up, the others are way down. And this is to point out that there are trade-offs here. I mean, if you are going to go crazy with your lead engagement, you are going to lose some of the time on page from people, and you're also going to lose some of the affection people feel towards your brand. We've done some surveys of user groups, and websites that are flashing and popping and doing everything possible to get leads, they get a lot more leads, but people are not happy. And if you survey those people, they don't feel like it was a good browsing experience. Whereas on the flip side, if you're all about the brand and the energy, you're never going to sell anything. So we look to kind of align the goals with the dealership, and you all need to ask yourself those questions. What's most important for you? Do you want to do that content where you're really giving them content and you're not necessarily going for the lead, or do you want to focus on capturing that lead and trying to get that sale, and thereby sometimes sacrifice that affection and connection they're going to feel for your brand? Now, I'm going to start to wrap up. Actionable tip 3 here, and this is really where the future of automotive is going. It's all about the sophisticated targeting and basically engaging with personalized messages. If you look at what all the big players are doing, they're building out data, they're building out models, they're trying to understand how to link between all the marketing activities they're doing, all the information we can know about a person, and how we engage them. One of the things we like to do, for example, is if we know there's an interesting campaign that a dealership is running, and we can get a sense of what the ads are, we will on the same page show a different ad to a different person, a different engagement, similar to what you saw earlier, to a different person. So one person might see the safety thing, another person might see the savings one. Why? Because we know based on the ad they clicked what their intent is, what they most care about. Once we know what they most care about, we can really focus on that message all throughout, and we also save that about that person, so when they come back to the website, we know what they're engaged in, what they're excited about. So this is really where it's going. Now the challenge here for anyone who's trying to do this stuff is that it's really, really hard to do. To really do it well, it is very difficult. And obviously I'd love to be in touch with all of you guys about what we do, but even if you're considering a different provider to kind of go into your website and get you guys really sophisticated with your targeting, you need to ask the questions. Do they really understand what they're doing? Do they know how to integrate with my current technologies? And are they able to really display things that make my site richer and more exciting to the client that's visiting versus annoying and flashy and just we'll end up turning them off. I think here is really the frontier. It's how personalized can we get in a digital way? How can we restore some of that energy of the really savvy warm, personal salesperson who can actually walk up and in a couple moments see what lights up a person's eyes and then engage them. And that's really what it's all about. And it's kind of what we are trying to do with our data-driven approach and our design-driven approach. And it's something that really all of you could be doing, and you could all get that going on your website quite quickly. So I'm going to kind of wrap up here where I covered sort of what is the challenge that we're facing, which is that websites find it very difficult, even when they have a personalization engine, to truly target what someone's intent is at the right moment, at the right time, and learn from it. That really is the key to growing your conversion rate on this very expensive traffic that you're buying, and that modern tools can bring you data and then in real time use that data to target someone and engage them. We do it every day. The other kind of opportunity is to even just do some simple things that I hit in those actionable tips, which I'm very happy to send to you all afterwards, that will just get you a little bit of a bump in your conversion rate. So with that, I'm going to take a breath. I'm going to wrap up, and I'm going to turn it over to Brian, and we want to take any questions that you guys have, and I'm happy to follow up now, and anyone who would like to be in contact with us, we'll shoot you an email, and we'd love to continue the conversation offline as well. Brian?
Okay. Hey, this is Brian again. Actually, I've got quite a few questions here. For the first one, how hard is it to get this type of thing started?
So that's a very good question. One of the fears that we encounter when we start working with the dealership, we come to the dealership and we say, listen, put this piece of code on your website. And then they look at kind of all the campaigns and all the things that we want to do, and they're like, oh my God, I don't have staff to get out my OEM offers this month. Where in the world am I going to get, where in the world am I going to get someone on my BDC to manage this? It's really a lot of work. I'm not going to deny it. The good news is that if you work with the right provider, and the work should be on the provider. Meaning, for example, just because I know us best, but I want to speak highly of others in the industry, we do everything other than the things we can't do. We can't necessarily put the code on the site, so we have to work with CDK or DealerOn or whoever it is, and we need you to make that connection to the site. We can't sometimes know about an advertising campaign you're doing, so every month we're going to ask you, hey, what are you doing next month? So we're very involved, but we have a kind of a strong design guild within our company that does all the creative, and then we basically build the campaign. So we like to go live within 7 to 10 business days of when we kick off. That's only because it takes a while to usually get the code on the website, but after that, we're able to go live. So it really does not have to involve a ton of work. Actually, I see a few of our clients on the call, and I'm always happy to refer folks to them to understand kind of what's involved in implementing this type of intelligence with us or with others.
All right. Another question. Aaron, are you able to capture as many data points on a mobile user, no mouse speed hovering, etc.?
No. It's a very good question. You're not able to capture as much information. You can capture, though, a lot of information. And mobile, remember, and this is a key issue that I think we need to remember when we engage mobile, people in mobile are in a totally different environment than people at a desktop. For example, you're getting on a bus, or you're getting out of the car with groceries, or you're in the bathroom. I mean, those are the mobile experiences, and it has to be a very different energy. I will send out, if anyone wants to see some of the mobile stuff we do, it's super cutting edge, really engaging and like vibrant, and we basically will gather whatever data we can get out of the browser, and there is a bit, and then we'll use that to kind of put together some sort of targeting concept for that person.
All right. Can a dealer do this on their own?
If you have a decent developer on staff, someone who can handle your website and kind of work with what you get from the website makers, you can do some stuff by yourself. Meaning you could put a nice overlay pop-up on when people after 20 seconds. There's some very basic things you can do. When you want to go beyond that, it's very hard. And if you look outside of automotive, and we have a lot of experience outside of automotive as well, website companies they don't really do what I'm talking about, because it's two very different competencies in different businesses and different kind of R&D infrastructures. So it's usually, and the businesses themselves don't do it. They always work with a a third party. There's just no way around it. I mean, just to kind of give you guys an example, we have a room of people who all have math or theoretical computer science degrees, and they basically spend, I was with them today, they're literally writing equations on the board and running experiments on some of our clients, our more, open clients who like to experiment with us. We're running live experiments on, 3 or 4 different machine learning models that we're testing right now. I'm certain all 3 of those that we're testing right now will get tossed in the garbage, and we'll do another 3 next month because it's so hard to get that extra, 1/10 of a percent, 1/2 a percent. And the whole game there is doing that. It's really not a dealership's, it's just not worth it for a dealership to do it themselves because it's not their business. They should just basically say to someone, and the price has to be right. You have to look at the end of the month and see, are you getting value out of this type of. So generally, we find that the answer is yes, and usually, we recommend some simple stuff you can do yourself, like the actionable tips I shared. The more advanced stuff, you want to work with a provider that gets it.
All right. And actually, I'm going to jump a couple questions down because I think you kind of touched on this question a little bit, Aaron, already. Can you explain how the cloud learns and what to show?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm going to be a little. All of you will forgive me for being a little technical here. I'm going to give an example of how the cloud learns. We just did an experiment that's actually live on 2 of our clients right now. So I'll talk about how we came to this experiment. It's a little inside baseball on on how we do things, but I'm excited to share it with you. So we wanted to we wanted to figure out, could we convert more people on a particular offer, okay? And we knew that people who go to the finance page or play with the finance calculator convert at a higher rate on this particular offer than they do on other offers. The challenge is that a lot of people who come to the website who care about finance don't end up going to the finance page. They abandon early, or they get a phone call and they leave, or whatever it might be. And so we wanted to figure out, could we predict, could the cloud, the machine learning cloud, predict whether or not someone was a finance person? So what we basically have on all those people is a big data set. What is the data set? What browser are they using? What screen size are they using? When we gather all this information, what time of day do they come? About 50 data points that we can gather, and actually some more. We basically put all those things in a big Excel spreadsheet, and we wrote a piece of code that used an algorithm. We actually tried 3 or 4 different algorithms. They have all sorts of funny names, random forest, logistical regression, all these weird names that are all machine learning algorithms. And we basically said, okay, we are going to tell you what 30,000 or 50,000, in one case we used 80,000 people did, meaning here's their data and here's what they actually did. We know whether or not they went to the finance page. Can you figure out what are the parameters here that indicate whether someone's going to go to a finance page? The machine ran, and our first results basically told us that it was worse than 50-50, meaning it was a bad result. And we kept working, we kept refining the algorithm, refining the data that we collected, and eventually we got to the point where we could predict at between 85 to 92% likelihood whether someone's going to go to a finance page. Now that's very powerful, because once we know that, we could potentially see whether or not we could offer these offers to people who we don't see go to the finance page, but we know will. Now that's what's called training a model. You can train a model using your own code, which is what we did. We wrote it in a program called R, or you can use Amazon, or which is a tech company, the tech company of Amazon, the AWS, or you could use Google. They all provide these machine learning clouds where you have to write your code, you put your data in, and it crunches it, and then you ask it, and it gives you an answer. So that was a very detailed answer for what may have been a more high-level question, but essentially you need to feed it data, you need to show it what worked in the past, or you need to say, I don't know what worked, but can you see any interesting patterns? That's called unstructured learning, and then you just hope it's for the best.
Well, that was a great answer, Aaron. I now understand this better than ever before. That was a great answer. What intelligence, and actually this question came in real early in the presentation, just to give you some context. It says, what intelligence do you need or want to capture?
Well, what we really want to do, it's all about, I mean, you guys know how to sell cars, meaning if I put you in a room with a person, you would sell that car, right? And if you think about in kind of, we're watching yourself, from a camera hovering above your shoulder, just think about all the things you're doing. You're understanding, what makes that person tick. You can see what cars excite that person. You're asking a couple key questions. I mean, you guys know how to sell cars. Well, those same intelligences, which kind of figure out what a person most cares about, are exactly what we're looking for. So we want to know, do they care more about, as someone told me yesterday in a call, right, with someone from our extended client network that advises us. They were joking. They were saying, well, you basically are saying, like, do they care about safety, or do they want to know if a car can go from 0 to 60 in their Lexus family in like 3-point-something seconds, right? Well, the fact is those two things can be contradictory. Someone who cares about safety may be put off by talking about, the 0 to 60. And knowing that intent and what to focus on is everything. If you don't know that intent, you're going to, or that concern, do they care about their pocketbook more than they care about, the look and appearance? I mean, all those, how new it is, the trim, all those are the things we try to figure out. So basically, we will do that in many different ways. We'll do that by looking at, what ad they came in from, if we can get that info. We'll look at what pages they look at. We'll try to see, using that machine learning stuff I bored everyone with before, we'll try to see, can we predict what they might be interested in if we don't know? And if you think about our challenge, it's really about like low information environments, because that's usually what you're dealing with. You're dealing with anonymous people who come to your website. Could be anyone, anywhere. They have very limited attention, and we need to figure out something to say to them that's going to either get them to convert on a lead form or make a phone call, or ultimately like you more than the neighbor so that they walk through your doors and not the neighbor's. So, again, long-winded answer, we try to figure out what they care about most and then show it to them.
Okay. And then, hey, Jeff, I'm sorry it took me so long to get your question. We just had a whole lot of them. Is your system something like what MotoFuse does?
Excuse me?
Is your system something like what MotoFuse does?
I'm not. Who is it? This is from Jeff?
Yeah, this is from Jeff.
All right, I'm going to write down the follow-up, because, Jeff, I'm not really familiar with them. If you want to elaborate, you're welcome to. You can, the kind of what people will often compare us to in the industry, or out of the industry, if you've seen companies like Marketo or Eloqua, which was bought by Oracle a couple years ago, like those are kind of big data crunching engines that will try to figure out how to engage. It's part of like what they call marketing automation. So we're usually in that family. And I'm happy to specifically compare to any product you guys want. You could just email me, or we'll follow up with you on those questions. But it's a I'd say what we try to do that's different different than a lot of the other folks in automotive is a focus on kind of exactly that machine learning element. Which again, I don't want to overuse because it's so buzzy, the machine learning stuff, but we do actually try hard to implement that, because it does give results, even if it's a couple, even if it's 0.5%. That's still valuable. And we also focus a lot on design and design A/B testing. We spend a lot of time and money trying to figure out what designs make people like a site rather than hate a site when they get interrupted by that design, which is what we're all in the business of, is interrupting people and trying to get them to do something. So those are the things that really are kind of differentiating us.
Okay. And actually, on this question, I want to add a little bit to it. The question that came in is, how can a small dealer compete with big groups? And what I'd like to add to that, maybe in addition to that question, is does this level the playing field?
So that's interesting, because the whole motivating energy for our company in the beginning was we were kind of we were interacting with medium businesses, really strong businesses that were just getting dominated by enterprises. And here I'm not even talking in automotive. We had a lot of experience out of automotive, and we would see these companies that would just get crushed by some big enterprise. And we actually were looking into, okay, well, what are these enterprises doing? And a lot of it was that they were just figuring out how to optimize the conversions on their website really well. So we were like, oh, that's not, that's really hard, but we could potentially put a lot more of that in a box and give it as a toolkit to a medium business, and thereby let them compete better on the internet. So that sort of was the motivator for us when we began the company, was to really put these powerful enterprisey tools in the hands of almost every small, medium business. But we happen to also work with groups, so I kind of can see both sides of the coin. The fact is that it doesn't level the playing field, because there's a spend issue here. When you can get outspent and that person can spend more money to buy quality traffic, they just are going to get a lot of traffic, and that means there's a lot more people walking through their doors than are walking through your doors. What you need to do as a small dealership, or as a single point or a multi-point, you need to be focused on really targeted local compelling offers. And you need to also build the brand loyalty that you can build because you're local and you're family owned and people like you and you're a community player and so on and so forth. So what we like to do with those dealerships sometimes, and again, it depends on the interests of our point of contact there and whoever's leading the business relationship, we might focus a little bit more on like the brand loyalty stuff, the consideration stuff, and then we ramp up the lead stuff once we know that we're making sure that people, when they hit that website, they feel the amazingness of this business, even if it's not, some big group that's, all fancy and slick. So it doesn't exactly level the playing field. Like, I'm not going to come tell you that, oh yeah, you put this on your website and you're going to, you're going to convert as well as everybody as the big group, but it definitely gives you an advantage and allows you to do some things that you couldn't do before that help you, get that sale or get that at least opportunity for a sale.
All right. Jeff, Joey, John, Miriam, Nate, Ryan, thank you. Thank you all and everybody else on the call. Thank you all for coming today. It looks like that's our last question. A couple things I'd like to remind everybody. If you haven't joined Auto Success webinars yet, please do. It's a group on Facebook. You just search and you'll find it. In that group, you can interact with Aaron, myself. Please feel free to reach out to Aaron or myself with any topics you'd like to see in the future. Aaron, is there anything else you'd like to share with our webinar attendees before we go?
The only thing I would share is this: treat your digital showroom with the same respect and investment that you're treating your physical showroom. It's a place that has to convey the message and the brand that you are, and anything you need to bring in to make that happen is worth it, because it's the future of our showrooms. The digital is just as important. So we're happy to talk with anyone and help, and if something we can't do, we're always happy to pass you on and try to make some connections or just give you some insight. If you just want to talk through any challenges you're facing, we're always happy to talk, anytime. Thank you so much, Brian. Thanks, everyone.
Right, thank you, Aaron. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed the webinar. I'm sure you learned a lot. I certainly did, and I hope to have Aaron back here soon. And I hope you all attend future webinars. Have a wonderful afternoon, everybody.
Bye bye.